Hello everyone, Lawrence Fleming here with another quick video. I found I've had some more time in between some of my shoots, so I've got a couple of days here, so I thought I'd go ahead and get another video or two out. I've got questions coming in, especially on my Facebook page, and I thought I would go ahead and try to answer a couple of them. One of them is, we're told not to be afraid. How do we know how not to be afraid if we don't know what's happening? Well, God tries to give us examples from the Bible telling us this is the way things are going to happen, so that when we see them happen, we're not afraid, because God shows that He's already aware. And one of the things that I'm seeing in this country, and I see it all over social media, is people are afraid of our government. What are they doing to us? Why are they doing to this? Our government is full of idiots. These guys can't fight their way out of a paper bag. Why are they doing this? All these different cliches I hear. Well, first off, the current administration, they're not full of idiots. They're very smart, calculating chess players. Remember I told you about the frog in boiling water? Well, if you know that story, you know that you can't just turn the heat up right away. They couldn't go from $2 gas to $4 or $5 gas overnight. They've been nudging it up. Nudge is a favorite socialist word. You can find it in their writings. You've got to basically just push things through a little bit at a time, because the people won't accept it. And then after they've seen it for a while, they begin to accept it. We've been softened to it. So anyhow, God is telling us not to be afraid, because everything's happening according to His plan. We know that the politicians are doing what their people are telling them to do. We don't so much have lobbyists anymore as we do just major campaign contributors. I wonder if I got a bird up there yet. I guess that's a crow. It's a blackbird. I love these nature hikes. I get to see a lot of what's going on. God created all this, which is amazing. The creativity to create every living creature and every living plant. All the colors God created. He's about ready to destroy it all, but He's going to recreate it again for us, because we enjoy it. Anyhow, the politicians have control of what's going on in our country. They know exactly what's going on. Yeah, Biden's getting old and he's acting it, but he wouldn't have been in office doing what he's been doing for 50 years if he didn't toe the line. He does what the money, power, and the rich people tell him to do. And he's very good at it. Like I said, he wouldn't still be there, and he wouldn't be president, because he was handpicked to take the new administration job. And while you're busy thinking about him and why he's not capable of running the country, it's being run by Congress, who does most of the work. I'm back to my normal seat here. I think I'm in alignment on the view screen properly. It's hard to see. I got the sun behind me, so I might have shadows on my face. Well, that's what you deal with. If I had a film crew out here, I'd have proper lighting. We'd actually have a screen up to block the sun, and we'd create our own sunlight down here to light up my face right. Actors like to have their face lit up properly. In fact, there's a terminology in lighting called the butterfly effect. Actresses used to have it written into their contract that there'd be a light behind them shining down, creating almost a butterfly appearance on their face. It's very becoming. You can look for it in some movies and see it. Anyhow, I'm getting off track here. The puppeteers are the wealthy. And if you stop and think of why would they want to do this? Why would they want to buy into government? Because they have their vision of the world that they want to make into. They may have their vision for their company, whatever it is. Politicians have been bought by rich people for years. They'd throw money to their campaign. They'd help campaign for them, pay for commercials, do things like that. And they'd get that freeway over-ramped that goes to nowhere because it gets halfway built, and then the next politician of the other party gets elected and he won't finish the project. So you have bridges to nowhere all over the country. That's a sign of what what does happen in politics with money. Okay. The good news, and the reason God says don't be afraid, he's also a puppeteer. He's a puppeteer of all those rich guys. They're doing exactly what he wants them to do at this time in our history. He can make them do anything. He could have kept them from being rich. But he's always used, good and bad, doesn't matter. If it's happening, he knows about it, and he coordinates everybody around it to take advantage of it. Now, God is omnipresent. I have a road nearby, and I can hear the trucks coming for miles sometimes, depending on the truck. That one's a big flatbed that's empty. You can tell what's coming by the way it sounds. You can hear a tornado because it sounds like a freight train. We're in the end times. We can see all the things happening around us. We know what's coming. And it's coming soon because we can hear it, and it's getting louder. Wars and rumors of wars. Yeah. We've been in that for a long time, but not in a relative time frame. Okay, God's the puppeteer, and he's controlling all this. We can hear two voices in our head, Satan's and God's. The old cartoon of the angel and the devil on the shoulders. It's a picture view of what's really happening. But as Christians, we hear God the most, but we can block him. We can block the Holy Spirit from working in our lives by having too much sin in our lives. So that's why we have to be ready so we can hear God. We don't always hear God in a audible voice in history. We don't have burning bushes happening every day. We don't have Noah. Hey, Noah, this is God. We don't have that right now. We see through a glass dimly, but we will soon see him face to face. Okay, so God is controlling them like puppets. Now, as Christians, he doesn't control us like puppets, so this isn't something that's new in our belief system. He gives us an opportunity to choose on everything that we do. But for non-believers, the field's wide open. So anyhow, he's controlling them. The politicians used to want to try to buy, or the rich people used to try to buy politicians. And then they found out, well, we have more control if we own the media. So they started buying up the media. There's only a few corporations that own all the media in this country. That's why they're pretty much all in lockstep with the same message. So you got to be careful about believing the media now. This isn't 50 years ago where you had 3 papers in town. One was left, one was right, and one was in the middle. We don't have that anymore. 95% of the media are all left. Now, even the ones that are on the right aren't fully right because they want money. They want the viewers, so they go a little bit to the middle just so they can get more viewers. So you got to be careful. You have to do your own homework. Don't just turn the news on and go, okay, this is happening. We're getting a lot of propaganda coming in about Ukraine. And it's ironic that Russia's involved in this because we used to jokingly talk about the Russian newspaper. It was called Pravda. Pravda in Russian means truth. It was anything but that. It was a government-run propaganda engine. And Putin's ex-KGB, so he really knows how to run the propaganda. And he also likes to get his way. All right, So the politicians are doing all this stuff because they're being controlled. They're not stupid. They have a plan. The plan is to destroy democracy in the United States and around the world. You see where Biden just put out an executive order to start looking into cryptocurrency? How do you think the Antichrist is going to say, you follow me or you don't eat? If the government owns the money outright and you're basically renting it from them, they can pull in that money and you can't do anything, or they can shut off your account. To a degree, they've already been doing that. In Canada, they were going in and shutting down accounts. I'm trying to see where I'm at. There I am. They were shutting down accounts to bank accounts so that people couldn't have access to their money. It's a little bit harder to do. But when the government owns the money, and cryptocurrency is a very popular thing, and it will probably be in place in every country here later this year, but not to the full extent. China's implemented it, the UK's implemented it. We've got it in private accounts here. But the thing is it's not government owned. But eventually it will be, so that they can tell you what to do and what not to do. The price of oil is still going up. They will eventually have to cap it, or they will completely shut down the economy, and they got to have their tax dollars. So there will be a limit, but it might be $6 or $7 a gallon in the highest places. It was $4.29 day before yesterday, so where I live here, I'm expecting it to go to $5. I'm already using my map to decide if I'm going to take a job or not. As I told you, I'm retired, so I don't take acting gigs anymore, maybe twice a year. I was up in Kentucky last month for an independent film. That's probably the longest trip I'm going to take for filming. I do have another one coming up, maybe in April or May, and that'll be south of Atlanta, so it's not too far from here. I'll go ahead and do that, but that's all I'm doing right now because of gas. And so I do some background work right now because I love being on set, and there's no pressure. And you got to memorize lines, and you got pages of them, and they don't film in order. They might take one line here and film it, and then switch to an entirely different scene and film another line, all because they're in the same location. They don't have to change locations, so that's a major expense. Producers learn all these tricks, and I've produced a number of films, well over 100, so I learn all the ways to save money. Okay, getting back to God and the Bible. So talking about how the government works, don't worry about it because God knows about it. These guys are not stupid. They'd like you to think they're stupid, and not that they're cold-blooded, conniving thieves that they really are. Anyhow, I do have a couple of scriptures I want to read to you today. One out of the book of Daniel, and he's in with the other prophets. Let me get my book opened. And I got to have my glasses again. Okay, I'm going to eventually get to 12:4, but I'm going to go ahead and start at the beginning of chapter 12, verse 1. At that time Michael shall stand up, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never been seen since there was a nation. Not going to like these times, people. You've got to be a Christian to get out of here. And at that time your people shall be delivered. Everyone else. He's talking to the Jews at that time, but we're adopted in. So remember that. But he's talking to the Jews because the 70th day of Daniel is talking to the Jews. It's the final Jewish day that they're going to live through. Everyone who is found written in the book will be delivered, and many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. Some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. You see, you've got two choices, two places to go, and they're both for eternity. Eternity in heaven or eternity, we use hell, but it won't exist forever, but it's going to be in a place that you don't want to be. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. We're in the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro. We can go any place in the world in a day. And people are going to and fro. And knowledge shall increase. Just think about how much knowledge we've increased now compared to what they had even in biblical time. And these prophets had to describe these things. They had to describe airplanes in terms of people who only saw birds fly. We didn't even have model airplanes. Da Vinci hadn't come yet with his designs. Many of these people couldn't read or write. Yeah, they could talk, but they couldn't read or write because paper was rare. So you didn't get a chance to go to school and learn how to write. Okay, and then I'm going to turn for my second scripture reading from Revelation, also the 12th chapter. Okay, and again, I'm also going to read from the beginning. And this may sound familiar if you've heard of the Revelation 12 sign. Now a great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his heads. Gotta change the page. And he drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to earth. Satan's coming to earth with 1/3 of his angels. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Yeah, he's coming back to do that. But her child was caught up to God in his throne. Caught up. Sound familiar? There are a number of caught up events in our future in the Revelation. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God that they should feed her for 1,260 days. Do the math, that's 3.5 years. All these things sound familiar? They come from the Bible. And a war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon. Michael avoided Satan in the past. He deferred him to God. But here, Michael's involved in this war. He fights with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels, they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. Satan's been in heaven, going and whispering in God's ear. Look at what this guy's doing. Look at what this girl's doing. How can you love someone like that? Look what they're doing. They're sinning. Jesus paid the price. He doesn't see it. But Satan won't give up. But he's going to lose his pulpit here in a little bit. So the great dragon was cast out, the serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And that's where I'm going to stop at. That's why you don't want to be down here. He's going to be given reign to do his dirty deeds down here. You wonder why there's so much lying going on when you turn on the TV? Who's the first liar in the Bible? He's got thousands of years of practice. He's very good at it. And he knows the lies to tell that are going to be accepted. He's going to be the best at psychology. And this world is going to just follow him along. But God will save his people. We have a rapture coming up. There are the watchers right now that are saying that it could be in the next month and a half. The start of the Jewish calendar is coming up. The Jewish New Year is the first of the month, the evening of the first of the month of April. That starts it off. We've got all the predictions that we can look at. We can line things up. Yeah, go ahead, car horn. Must be hitting a bell. Satan doesn't like it. I always find things like that amusing and encouraging. If you find opposition to what you're doing and you're working for God, you must be doing a good job. Okay, so again, don't be afraid. God knows exactly what he's doing. I'm getting a lot of new followers recently. I've tried changing some of my filtering to kind of get past the YouTube social media filtering, and it seems to be working, but I can still use your help. Help me by sharing this video and others with your friends, because that's the way I can get past the filters. And you can be a part of this ministry and anybody else whose videos you like. Like I said, there are many video channels on YouTube that you can watch. A lot of them have had to move to other platforms like Rumba and Telegraph and that. We have Amir Safati, which he lives in the Galilee area and he teaches. He's a pastor there. But he comes to the United States and does his speaking tours. We have Jack Hibbs out in California, the Calvary Chapel. I was part of that many years ago, back in the 70s, because Calvary Chapel is where Chuck Smith started, and we got all that music of the 70s, the Maranatha music. It was great. And that was a revival time. I wish we could have some of that back. We're not going to get it back on earth a whole lot, but we are going to have it in heaven, so be prepared. And I'm really grateful that when I get there, that God will give me a singing voice, because I don't have that. All right, I mentioned John Samuel Barnett. Who else can you look for? J.D. Farag, Greg Laurie. There's a number of pastors out there that have very good messages. You can find one that you can listen to. I've got a lot more that I can watch, but you can find them. Just search on YouTube, and then when you get over to Telegraph or the other channels, they actually will open up and talk more. I've been pushing my luck a little bit lately, but I'm trying to not mention individual names or the key words that we're not supposed to mention. You know, the big C that we've had to deal with, which is being pushed aside now because it's had its run. Now it's going to be the economy. So I got to still watch the buzzwords. But with your prayers and help, we can get this message out. There's not a lot of time left. And hopefully these channels will remain after we're gone. I don't expect them to remain very long, but I expect them to be out there for a little while. We're planting seeds for the revelation. And by the time things get bad enough that people turn to God, there'll be some growth out there that can help spread. And eventually we'll maybe see them when they come up to heaven. They may have to be martyrs, and they're going to have some stories to tell. But we can be a part of that. You can be a part of that. Okay, as we stay in our Rapture high watch, hope to see you in the skies. God bless.